If you want to see swatch comparisons between the Subculture and the NYX Machinist palettes, then stick around. This video has been on my to-do list for a few weeks now, and that is to compare the Subculture palette shadows. Just show you the shadows very quickly here. To a couple of dupes, mostly the NYX Grind palette, but also a couple of shadows in the Ignite palette as well. And those are the two out of the three that I have from the Machinist palette. Maybe there are some other dupes in the Steam palette, but I don't have that one. I do think that these cover a lot of the shadows that are in contention, if I may. So let's take a look. I have taken the liberty, and you'll see my fingers have been in a number of shadows today. I took the liberty of doing swatches for the ABH shadows that I think have some potential dupes in the two palettes, and just reinforced why I love the ABH so much. These are, so this one I did a double, but most of these are one swipe down. Look at the pigmentation on these. Such a good palette. Now I'm going to use these swatches as my lead and then add the NYX shadows as I go. The NYX shadows have no names, so I will give you the name starting from top left-hand corner by giving you the number that it is in the palette itself. When it comes to Subculture, of course, I will give you the proper name. So we're going to start on these and then go to these three at the top because I ran out of arm. I was trying to leave room for the swatch of the NYX shadow, obviously. So we have, first off, Dawn, this one right here. And I swatched, like I said, the shadows that I think I can find a dupe for. Dupe. And so a somewhat comparable color is going to be the eyeshadow number 6 in the Grind palette. So I'm going to swatch that one right now, but make sure that my finger is very clean. So let's go right into it. I was going to go back into the Subculture. That's my default. Okay, so I'm putting a fair amount of shadow on my finger to make sure I'm giving it a good college try here. And I think I'm going to go on the left of the shadows. So let me just try to build that up. So there is some similarity, but I'm having trouble building the same color up. And there's another color, it's very dusty here. There's another color that could be a contender as well, but I thought it was a contender for a different shadow in the Subculture, but I'll try this one as well. We'll just try it on the other side. Right next to it. No. So they're not that close together. And then the next one, before I get too far here, the next one is Adorn. This one from the Subculture. And I didn't see an equivalent in these shadows here. So there is one in here. This is the Ignite right here, but it's very, here it is right here. It is very pinky peach, so I won't bother swatching it next to it because it's really not close at all. And then color number 12 in the Grind palette, this is the one that's going to be the closest. So let's do that one. Looks like this. So really not close at all. It's more rusty than gold. So it may look closer in the pan, but definitely not in the swatch. Then we are going into All Star in the Subculture palette. And there is one in the Ignite right down here, which is color number 10. The NYX shadows are very dry compared to the Subculture. And here we go, right here. So this one swatches not too bad for the NYX product. I'm just going to go over one more time. It definitely has more pink. Axis has a little bit more brown, but they're not that different. Depends how particular you are, but definitely the application. The one from Ignite feels a little gritty, whereas the Subculture is very smooth. And I'm not saying the NYX shadows are bad. I gave these palettes a good review. We're just comparing these shadows. Now, next one up is Mercury, this one. And on this one I had found, in this palette in Ignite, this one, I'm pretty sure, which is number 6. It looks a little bit olive green in the pan, but it's not how it swatches. Which is why, I know I'm a broken record, but swatching is so important to know exactly what you're going to get. So these are pretty close. Mercury has a little bit more of a brown undertone, and this one has a little bit more of a gray undertone, but they're pretty close. And now we have Axis and Untamed. So these two, I ended up swatching one after another because here I was going initially on the top row going to the next row, but then the reason I put them together is because there's only one color in the NYX palettes that work as a possible option for these two colors. And it's this one right here. Right there, which is number 2 in the Grind palette. And this is what it looks like. So let's swatch right between the two of them. So I think that it's more like Untamed, obviously, but it's it doesn't really match either one of them. It's more olivey green than Untamed. Untamed has some teal in it. Let me just make sure that there's nothing else in these that could, no, absolutely not. So the funny thing is that the NYX one, I'll just swatch it one more time. The NYX one in the pan has some teal look to it, but it did not swatch that way on my arm at all. Not very much at all. Okay, so on the second swatch, it does start to resemble Untamed more, but Axis not at all. And still, I would say that this is a bit more gray-green, and then this one has a bit more teal in it. I don't know if you're able to see the difference there. But again, on the eye, they wouldn't look appreciably different, I don't think. They're not far enough apart as to look so different. I'm inclined to just re-swatch this one from NYX. Let's just deepen up that number 6. Yeah, still quite gray, but a little bit closer just because of the second swatch. But they definitely don't swatch. They're not. It's a completely different finger feel from one palette to the NYX palettes, from the Subculture to the NYX. Next one is Roxy. And I think I ended up swatching, yeah, I'm pretty sure I swatched this one. Let me just double check. There really isn't a Roxy equivalent. So I am going to swatch this one and see what happens. But there's really no peachy cream kind of a color in either one of these palettes. Yeah, nowhere near. That's definitely not the same effect. And this is has white in it that really makes the peach pop, peachy pink pop. So not at all. The other one ends up looking more like a dusty rose. And next up we have Fudge. And Fudge is a very nice color. So we just did Roxy. Now we're going to Fudge because there was nothing that looked like electric at all, I don't think. Okay, well, I have another swatch to do, so I'm going to do electric as well. Okay, so here is, they're really hard to see on my skin tone, but here is electric. And here is a NYX, kind of a sparkly color. And the difference with, so electric is more yellow and has micro glitter in it. And it seems duochromy in that in a given light it goes from yellowish gold to almost a lime green. And then this one from NYX it goes from almost a really light bronze to, I would really call it a bronze metallic. No, what am I talking about? It's lighter than bronze, almost like between a cream and a peach. So they're different colors, but I mean you could, I guess, substitute one for another in a look, but there's just more to the electric. I don't know if you can see it, it's up here. There's just more to the electric. The other one's just it's a nice shimmer. It's a nice shimmer, but the micro glitter in electric really transform the shadow, and it's more sheer shadow, so I can see how electric is more in the topper category than the NYX equivalent, which I didn't tell you, it is the first pan in the grind palette. So #1 in the grind palette. And if I didn't mention it, when I did the one for Roxy, I used the 7th shadow in the Ignite palette. Okay, we are moving on to Fudge, this puppy right here. And Fudge is right here in the ABH palette. Very true to the color in the pan. And the thing with Fudge is that it's really kind of a blend between #8 and #11 in the grind palette. And I think I'm going to swatch each one of these on each side of Fudge, and we'll see what happens. So I'm going for #8 first. So this one is definitely more of a gray brown. This one has a lot more cocoa look to it. Almost like cocoa cinnamon brown in Fudge. Or maybe we could call it Fudge. So the next one that I have here is that #11, so we'll try that one. And so maybe just the brown, and I'm doing a deeper swatch, meaning I'm really digging into this pan. than I did when I was trying out this color, so maybe it's going to end up looking more like fudge. Do you see how they're kind of, like, this is a bit too red, this is a bit too gray, they just don't really get to the fudge color? Let me just see if I layer them if they get close. Let's see where I can do this. I'll just do it down here. Aha! Look at that! Look at fudge, which is in the middle. Now look at this one. It's getting a lot closer to fudge. So there you go. If you want a fudge dupe, mix these two colors and you get closer to this one. But it's still, I think you'll agree, it's still not exactly like fudge. But it's possible to blend them and get something close. I'm just wondering if there's anything else that's sort of like that. I'm wondering now for Dawn if mixing, where is it now? If mixing these two colors from NYX create Dawn. So you know I'm going to try it now, right? Okay, so I've got the two colors here. I'm going to use the deeper one first, right here under Dawn. Yeah, okay, so layering those two colors, so here's Dawn, and then layering those two colors make them look more like Dawn than they did individually. So I decided to redo it, so do it a second time, and it gets even closer to Dawn. So this is a mix of two NYX colors to get close to Dawn. And so again, I am mixing number 6 and number 7 from the grind palette. Now we have a few colors at the top here. We are dealing with New Wave and Edge. And for New Wave, I would definitely go with this one, which is number 4 in the grind palette. It's really not like either one of them, is it? I'm just going to build that color up again. It's not like New Wave or Edge, really. It's a more orangey type of Edge and a more peach version of New Wave. Is it in the same vicinity? Sure. It's not a dupe for sure. Just not a dupe. But I am interested in layering over, this is the one we just used, number 4, and I'm interested in layering on number 7 because I have a feeling that it's going to modify the color, and who knows, maybe it's going to modify it in a way that's closer to the ABH colors. So right on top here, just trying to cover up the initial part here. Still not quite like the ABH, but I feel like it's getting closer to Edge here. Not quite a dupe. We have one last color to go through. If you're still with me, boy, you are a trooper. I even just took a look at the viewfinder to make sure I was still recording. This is long. Okay, we have, like I said, Rowdy is next. This is the last one. So we just finished where is it? New Wave edge, and now we are at the last shadow in the ABH palette. And the one color that I have in those two palettes that is somewhat similar to Rowdy is this one right here, which is the third one in the Grind palette. Again, really going into the NYX shadow to give it the best chance I can. And I'm going to go right over here. And if you're wondering why I'm using my index finger over and over again, it is my strongest finger, and I want to make sure that I'm giving these shadows a chance. So here is the ABH, and here's the NYX. I'm going to go back into the NYX shadow. Okay, I think that's pretty close as far as being able to build it up on the eye. I feel like doing one more swatch over just to see if I can build it up to what I have on Rowdy and NYX. There seems to be a lot more gray undertone in the NYX shadows than there is in the ABH. Yeah, so the third is the charm. It's getting closer to what Roxy is. So the color story is very similar, but I think that you can see the differences. If you like the grungy vibes of the Subculture, I don't think that the NYX Grind is a bad palette. Now just keep in mind that this is a mixture of the Grind and the Ignite, with a couple of shadows coming from Ignite. So the main shadows from Ignite were these three. And this one was the closest one to Mercury. So just keeping those in mind if you are looking at these as potential. And I had tried this one as a dupe for Roxy, and it's not a contender. I will definitely list off in the description box the colors for the Subculture and the corresponding colors or color combos in the Grind and Ignite palettes. As I edit the video, I will take note of all of the combos that I have produced, because there are some that we came up with on the fly that I hadn't thought of putting together when the colors didn't match, because I didn't do the side-by-side swatches with the two sets until I got on camera. So I did a few checks on my hand, but I didn't do any side-by-side swatches, so I wasn't sure how close they would be. All I was doing was going on my hand saying, is this going to be somewhat in the vicinity of the ABH? But really seeing that side by side makes a very big difference. So that's it. I have nothing more to offer. I hope you found these swatches useful. What did you think of the color combinations? Do you think I missed anything? Do you find they're similar, different? Are you convinced? Do you think that there is a match between the Subculture and the couple of NYX Machinist palettes? And if you know of some dupes in the Steam palette, the one that I don't have, please let me know down below. And well, what do you think too of dupes? Do you go for dupes? Do you stick with the original? I'd be curious to hear more about that as well. With that though, I will say thank you very much for your time. I hope you found this video useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But for now, take care.